A fine September morning to you all as I make my way down to San Diego International, getting ready to kick off my very first flight of 2020. Today I'll be trying out American's economy to DFW on board an Airbus A321. As I approach the terminal, my spirits are high and I'm feeling quite excited. Today officially marks my very first trip with American Airlines. AA is definitely far from anything exotic, but getting to cross out another airline off the list is something I'm definitely looking forward to. With only a backpack for this quick 2-day trip and having already completed online check-in, I walked into the terminal and headed straight through security. The lines this morning were very short and the security checkpoint went through very rapidly. Within a few short minutes I was airside and I had plenty of time on my hands before boarding. T2 East has long been American territory, but currently also houses Alaska's operations. It's an old terminal with very little viewing opportunities, but just enough to spot this E175, which I think looks fantastic in Alaska's livery. I was departing out of Gate 27 this morning, and judging by the ever-growing congregation of people, it was set to be quite a busy flight down to Dallas-Fort Worth. Though Terminal 2 East seemed to be teeming with travelers this morning, Terminal 2 West next door was a different story and looked rather deserted. Despite the emptiness of Terminal 2 West, I was able to find this ex-US Airways American A321. You can tell it's an ex-US Airways by the CFM engines, and it was just chilling at the gate. As I headed back to Terminal 2 East, I noticed that the Airspace Lounge was open. In addition, Terminal 2 East offers some food court options which were also open. It's not a whole lot, but it's definitely enough to grab a bite to eat. And on a side note, here's my inbound aircraft arriving, ready to take me to Dallas, Texas. Now before we get on board, it's worth mentioning that American A321s are kind of a wild card. There are up to 3 different cabin configurations that American offers on these planes, and each one is a fair bit different from the next, to say the least. So, as I observed my plane pulling in, I couldn't help but wonder which one I'd get upon boarding. Boarding followed through in a timely manner, and before I knew it, I was walking down the jet bridge, ready to take my first flight since July of last year. Now, as I've mentioned, I've personally never flown American before, but I was very impressed by the comfort and the legroom of these seats. As for the seat back pockets, they contained everything you might expect, from the safety card all the way to the air sickness bag in the back, and an in-flight magazine in between. Of course, each seat features a fold-out tray table, but on this plane there are no in-flight entertainment screens, power outlets, or USB ports. Again, this varies greatly by aircraft. The window appears to be a little scuffed up, but the view from 20A is not bad. What truly surprised me was just how packed this flight was. In fact, every single seat was occupied, and it was 100% full.
Hopefully closer to that 10-minute mark. Out of the way once we're down there. Once we're on the runway and rolling, it's 2 hours and 28 minutes to Dallas-Fort Worth.
Despite the captain's announcement regarding congestion at San Diego Airport's taxiway, we got rolling right away and cruised straight down to runway 27 for takeoff with no delay whatsoever. If you don't feel like watching the entire takeoff roll, I urge you to skip to 5:55, but if If you're willing to watch the entire thing, here it is, recorded in its full glory. Enjoy. Now I have to say that despite departing San Diego on countless occasions, the views are pretty sweet every time. Bonus viewing points if you make the wise decision to sit on the port side of the aircraft. For a very obvious reason, service is all but cut for mainline US carriers. For now, American has replaced the familiar drink cart with these bags given to each passenger, the contents of which include a sanitizing wipe, some sort of snack, in this case mini pretzels, and a small water bottle. I have to say, as far as limited service goes, this was quite good and obviously much better than not receiving anything altogether. Unfortunately, the extreme haze outside spoiled my hopes of gazing out the window the entire flight, so I opted to check out the in-flight magazine instead. This turned out to be quite typical, with no shortage of anecdotes mentioning food or hidden gem towns across America. I think I've seen this exact feature in every single in-flight magazine I've ever flipped through. Perhaps high altitude gives people the sudden urge for medical procedures.
Fasten seatbelt sign off. I'd like to recommend you remain in your seat with a seatbelt fastened.
Admittedly, there wasn't a whole lot to do on this flight. Conditions were incredibly smooth and the cabin atmosphere was rather relaxing. I simply sat there just happy to be in the air again. I also want to take this time to thank the viewers for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, don't hesitate liking and subscribing below, as I really do appreciate it. I'll try to pick up activity on this channel as well. So if you'd like to stay updated, click the bell icon and get notified every time I upload. As I've mentioned before, viewing conditions weren't the best, but that did little to stop me from gazing out the window the majority of the flight. Also, as a word of advice, seat 20A is located directly in front of the mid-cabin lavatory. So if frequent flushing noises bother you, I'd suggest a different seat selection. As the scenery gradually became more Texan, it was obvious that we were beginning the approach into DFW. Deserts became less deserted below, and the nose of the plane could be felt gently pitching down for the descent. Flaps are set on the A321 as it is aligned for direct approach into runway 35 center, the only asphalt runway at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And just like that, we have made it to Dallas-Fort Worth. This airport is truly a widespread and massive operation, but I found that the terminals are intuitively laid out and easy to get around for the most part. I had a rather tight connection to make here and hopped terminals within 10 minutes of deplaning. So as long as weather doesn't throw a wrench into everyone's plans, DFW is a fine place to connect. If I had to describe today's flight in one word, it would be satisfying. The cabin was very clean and quite comfortable. Despite a lack of service on board, the small snack bag was definitely appreciated, and everything just went smoothly, leaving little to complain about in the grand scheme of things. Thank you again for stopping by to watch. I'll be uploading new videos more frequently from now on, so be sure to stay tuned. Be sure to check in next time.